Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Birla Institute of Technology Old Student Association EV Club event. Our Bitosa team is a group of people from different chapters like Delhi, Bangalore, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Kolkata, all the way from US, Silicon Valley, and Pune. The objective of this group is to help the people suffering from COVID and related challenges. Based on the input, we did some brainstorming about 3 weeks back, about a month back. We received from across the alumni network and started working on 5 major initiatives. The first one is SOS, Task Force and Volunteer Team, comprising of around 200 plus alumni to help patients and caregivers with verified and actionable information. Oxy Life Saving through supply of oxygen concentrator and the system, preventing diseases through telemedicine, vaccination drive, and post-COVID consultation. And last but not the least, financial aid. This last part is most important. I know there are many sufferers who had a lot of problems post-COVID, starting from financial, moral support, and some other support. So we are connecting with those people. We have created the database and connecting with those people who unfortunately left us, and we are connecting with their family members. So far, we have been able to take up more than 200 cases, and around 160 plus cases have been resolved. By resolved, we've been able to provide some kind of help and closely working with COVID sufferer and their family members to extend support. We are really thankful for today's speakers, Dr. Mishra and Dr. Chari Mitra, for their valuable time and support for this webinar, wherein they will share their experience of treating the COVID patient. I would request all the audience participants to take maximum benefit of their experience sharing and their advices. And I'm sure that will be certainly helping them. With this, I'm introducing our senior alumni, Mr. Pradeep Kumar, who has been very instrumental in supporting this initiative. And we will take the webinar forward and introduce Dr. Mishra. Very quickly, Mr. Pradeep Kumar is an alumni from BIT Mesra of 1976 batch, Electronics and Communication. He was an IRS officer in Indian Railways, a fellow of Institute of Engineers. He authored 3 heritage books on coffee table of Indian Railways, a national award winner and a passionate quiz master. Very often we attend his quizzes. With this introduction, I request Pradeep sir to take it forward to introduce Dr. Mishra, and then after Dr. Mishra's deliberation, then we'll have another doctor, Dr. Chari Mitra. That introduction will be done by Mr. Rahul Maheshwari. Over to Pradeep sir, please sir.
Okay, I'm able to convey. आप लोग सुन पा रहे हो मेरे को?
एकदम.
Dr. Mishra, a beloved dear friend. We have a Xaverian group, so 74, 76 Xaverians, and we talk, write. And Dr. Saab to doctor hai, he with Atal mission, and then he did his MBBS, RMCH, presently RIMS, and then further degrees. And he has been I'll call him as a friend doctor. So anywhere we talk to him, listen to him. So doctor wala to caliber unka hai hi. In addition to that, he is a passionate. I think it's watercolor paintings he did. I mean, हम लोग wait करते रहते हैं 1 week में 10 दिन में डॉक्टर साहब का कुछ इंजन बना हुआ आ जाएगा या कुछ आम का पेड़ का पत्ता आ जाएगा, and it is so beautiful, so nice and so different. So we have a very strong Xaverian group, including, I mean, you may be knowing OP Singh and the present Chief Secretary of Bihar, things like that. There are people who are in the group. So let us take advantage of Dr. Mishra, and Dr. Mishra should be taken as part of the Bitosa club. He is part of us. I mean, that is the proximity which we have. And he helps in so many missions, plus polyclinic type of thing in near Dhurwa. And I mean, his introduction is a small introduction, but he is the man who does the work on the field. So, and very simpleton, very simple approach of giving information and very simple approach of prognosis also, so to say. So, to my doctor friend, Mishra.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
you are.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. And it's a really great pleasure to be a part of this August group. And I'm sure people are listening. And we are discussing today what else? COVID, and a little bit more of COVID. So, it's been a challenge for last 1.5 years. It has shaken up the whole world, and everyone from lower to upper, left to right, south to north, everyone is affected by this virus. When it started, people took it very easy, but gradually people realized that it is not that easy. And around this time last year, we had started seeing the peak of this virus, which came down a little, then gradually again it came up. And then by Durga Puja time, it was again at a peak. We lost so many lives. Then gradually it started flattening. So we all thought that, okay, the worst is over. And around that time only, I think around November or December, the word about vaccination started getting around. And people sort of got a little comfortable that, okay, the vaccine is on the way, the light is at the end of the tunnel, and gradually we'll be getting over this. So much so that by February, I think February end and March, we got very complacent despite repeated warning from groups of doctors and the government of India that we should not be complacent about COVID appropriate behavior, as we put it. But somehow human nature is such that we got a little complacent. And finally, we decided that no, it's all over. Right at that time, I think January, mid-January, we started vaccinating people. And by end of, I think, February, most of the health workers and frontline workers, they got vaccinated. And then finally, by March, I think we started vaccinating 45 plus people in general. And now, as you can see, it is 18 plus and all. So the whole process has been rolling out slowly but silently. But in the meantime, this all happened that we kept losing lives March, mid-March or end of March. And April was a very bad year, bad month for all of us. That was the time compared to the last year, we knew many things. We had an idea about how to deal with these patients. But that said, we were not very comfortable with the weaponry in our armor, and we realized that all is not well. And to tell you the truth, most of us were caught unawares to the extent that we did not know how to manage the huge number of patients trickling in day in and day out. Today, fortunately, it has touched less than 2 lakh cases, but it has been very bad last few weeks. I have been personally treating most of the patients. I treated them, I think, till as late as uh, end of April. Then after that, I also caught the virus finally, and I had to sit home for 2 weeks. And then from home also, since I was vaccinated in the first lot, so I was not badly affected. But then I kept seeing patients, and with great sense of pride, I can say that I kept seeing patients through video consultation. And I actually treated many of them very serious. So I'll come to that gradually. But things worked, and many of the patients I could save, and this I can put on record with great sense of pride. That said, we must have a quick review of how this virus affects us. I think in this era of social media and WhatsApp and Twitter, everyone is pundit about all things, including this virus. And rightly so, because last 1.5 years, we have been eating, sleeping, and playing with virus day in and day out, whether love it or hate it. The virus, now, as we know, has got a very important timeline. And this timeline is the most important and the essence of management for us and for people in general. So when we talk about the virus, it enters the body through upper respiratory passages, and then there it multiplies. Now it is unlike the regular flu virus, which goes deeper inside the lungs where it multiplies, and then through sneezes and cough, it goes out and affects others. That is flu. But this virus, it actually enters the upper part of respiratory passage, which is upper throat and nose, and there it multiplies. So it takes very quick time before it enters the body, the upper part, and then there it multiplies, and we start sneezing and throwing it out. Now the difference you can make out, whereas flu, it takes time to get inside, multiply, and then being thrown out to the atmosphere. This takes quite fast. It takes within a couple of days, it starts actually multiplying so badly and in multiple numbers. And then every time we talk, we laugh, we sneeze, we cough, we disseminate this virus. Now, last year, we knew that this virus spreads by touching. So we concentrated mostly on cleaning the surfaces, the metal surface, the wooden surface, the newspaper, the clothes, the door handles, knobs, railings, everything we concentrated on. And we kept cleaning them, disinfecting them so that we could not catch the virus. Gradually, we knew over a period of months that it is not so simple. The virus actually, now as we know, it is up in the air and it is hung up. It stays in the air for a long time. Or even if it is airborne, if it is not airborne, then also within a few feet, if someone sneezes or coughs, it actually goes into the atmosphere and then it affects. Now, the virus, it is not a living thing. We name it as active or inactive, which can be roughly put as dead or alive, but it is not dead or alive. It is active or inactive. So the virus remains active for a few hours to few days outside of human body. So within 6 feet or of 4 to 6 feet of a distance, if the virus gets someone who is unaffected, then it grows, multiplies. Otherwise, it goes inactive. It falls onto the ground, onto the surfaces, and then gradually it gets inactive. It is of no use as far as the infection is concerned. That is how it goes. So if you are in a close distance from the virus, which is a few feet, if someone has sneezed or someone has coughed or laughed loudly without mask, then there are bright chances that the person who has not got any earlier infection with the virus, or he is or she is not vaccinated against the virus, probably the person will catch the virus. Now, once you catch the virus, what happens? The timeline is very well defined now. We know how it is. So few days, it takes about 3 to 4 days. The multiplication process is very high. And during that period, from the day it enters to that period of 3 to 4 days, it goes on disseminating every time we laugh, we sneeze, we cough. So first 3 to 4 days after catching the virus, when we do not know really what has happened, we do not have any symptoms, we may not have sore throat, cough, breathlessness, or fever. But during these 3-4 days, we have already disseminated it to few people, especially in the family members. This is an important part to understand. Even if you have no symptoms, the virus has got into you and you have already disseminated. So by the time you have fever, you have tested yourself for virus by rapid antigen or RT-PCR, you have already disseminated the virus to your family members close and near the ones. So after testing positive with RT-PCR or rapid antigen, if you realize that you are positive, there is not much left to disseminate. You already have done it to the family members. This is point number 1 to understand. And this is not in your control because you do not know whether the virus, now whether it is inside me or not, I will not understand unless I have symptoms. Now, what are the symptoms? We all know, most of us, we have been seeing it. So it starts with heavy body ache, fever, cough, sore throat. It could be headache, cramps all over the body. Now, newer symptoms this year, the virus has mutated. Mutation is a simple, if you want to understand, mutation in general is a way the virus adjusts itself to the newer challenges to survive. So it is a technique for survival. So the virus changes its character. And that is how it has happened in this time. Because last year it was affecting most of the elderly people with comorbidities. This year it has started affecting the younger population, and that was a matter of concern. We did not know that it will happen. So this year, the mutated virus, and mind you, it has been named in certain sections of media as Indian variety. But please stand very clear in the mind that this is no Indian variety. Scientifically, it has not yet been named as an Indian variety. Government of India is also very clear on that. In fact, they have instructed all the social media platform to withdraw this word Indian, because it not only gives a bad name to the Indian as a country, and also it is unnecessary giving a bad name to the whole process. So it is a mutant variant which is found mostly in our country, and it has affected this year most of the younger populations. And the symptoms, in addition to the cough, fever, body ache, sore throat, pharyngitis, the symptoms this time have been a little more than that, and it is because of maybe abdominal symptoms, and there are other symptoms also which we did not know. So these are the symptoms. Then what happens? 5 days later, 6 days later, the symptoms have appeared, and in more than 85%, or even more than that, 90% of the cases, it starts flattening. So the disease process begins with the entrance of virus. By the 5th or 6th day, it reaches its peak and then starts declining. And by the end of 9th day, the virus becomes inactive. And by 10th day, more or less, people are cured. I want to underline this fact very clearly, that in more than 85 to 90% of the patients, if you catch the virus, outcome is positive, you are cured, and there are no complications left after 10 days. I do not want to give any negative message through this platform. Please stand very clear in the mind that even if you are infected with the virus, at the end of 10th day, 90% chances are that you'll be cured and there'll be nothing left of the virus. So there is no necessity to test for the virus or the viral particles, as we call it, through RT-PCR at the end of 10th day, or keep testing it. If you recall, last year, the employers insisted that no, people must report negative with the virus before they are taken back to work. But then this happened, we gradually found out, because this is one thing we keep learning every day. So we gradually learned that these viral particles are detected by the machine, and they do not differentiate between active and inactive virus. So it is like, finding empty cartridges at the site of killing. The police finds empty cartridges and it reports that, okay, cartridges were found. It does not differentiate whether it was live bullet or it was an empty cartridge of the bullet. So there is no point. It can be seen for weeks together. 90% cases, these are not detected at the end of 10th day. 95% cases by 3 weeks, and by end of 21 weeks, no viral particles should be detected. So the government decided that we should not waste the resources on retesting. Once you're positive with the virus, there is no need to test or retest once you are positive with the virus. I hope I am clear on that. Next, what happens? What happens to those who are hankering for oxygen, ventilators, remdesivir, and variety of things that we have been seeing in the media? What we are seeing in the media is those unfortunate less than 10% of the people who are having comorbidities, with which we mean some diseases which have been making you weak from immunological point of view, of which it could be cardiac diseases, diabetes, obesity has come up on the number one in last this is what we have seen, that obesity has been number one, which has been putting patients to jeopardy. Which means if you have any of these things, you are likely not to recover completely from the virus. And these are the patients who will report complications or complicated outcome of the disease. Now, what are these? Again, we all are aware. Breathlessness, severe cough, the oxygen saturation going down. Many of the patients, they ask me how to measure oxygen saturation. Those living in Lohardaga, those living in Tamar, they had no access to pulse oximeter. So the best way to measure the respiratory rate, that is, you lie down, the patient is lying down in bed, and every minute, the number of times the abdomen goes up and down with the breathing or the respiration movement, you count it. If it is more than 25, then the oxygen is poor and the person is in need of immediate hospitalization. Apart from that, if you have oximeter, you can measure it. If it is less than 94 or 93, in some cases we have seen it could be 90 also, but standard thing is 94, less than 94, it has to be taken seriously. The patient must be brought to our notice. Number three is, there is even better way to find out if someone can walk for 6 minutes inside the household, and if the oxygen saturation remains at the same point, then by and large you can say that the lungs are not affected. The biggest problem that happens with this is the lungs, they are affected with the virus and causes pneumonia. Now, interesting part is, the pneumonia is caused by this virus, but the virus doesn't remain there. So after 6 to 7 days, the virus has done its job and it has disappeared. Now you have to deal with all the disasters that it has caused. Pneumonia is one of them. So that is when we go for further investigations like CT scan of the chest, and then we go for further blood tests also, of which one test is very important to see whether there is infection inside the body, that is CRP, and there are other tests like D-dimer. D-dimer is just to test whether the blood flow is okay or the blood has got sticky or coagulable. So these are some of the tests we go for. So for you and me, the most important thing to understand is, after 5 to 6 days, if there is breathlessness, the cough increases, and the person has got difficulty in breathing, the oxygen has fallen down, fever is not coming down, that is the time when we must get into the treatment mode. Then finally, if that happens, we take them to the hospital, give oxygen, and then give the medicines, and this is how it happens. Now, what as patient is your responsibility? Most important thing is, the day you experience any kind of body ache or sore throat or fever, first thing to think of is COVID infection, the virus infection. And then you must report to us. Let us decide what to do next. We'll go for the test. We'll give you very basic medications. Last year we had a lot of hit and trial with many drugs. Some worked, some did not work. And all because of, because this chapter was not written in the standard textbooks of medicine. We are yet to read anything about in any standard textbook of medicine, which means we keep learning every day, every minute, every second. So last year, the medicines that we tried all over the world, I'm not saying me or you or him or her, all over the world, they kept trying one after another different medicines. And finally, we decided that, okay, this will work. Then after a few weeks, we decided that, no, this doesn't work. It is harmful. Likewise. So what we give in this period, once someone is affected with the virus, we give paracetamol, some anti-allergics like, cetirizine, and some vitamins like vitamin C, zinc. Again, they have a lot of questions about that, but these are safe and they can be given. Earlier, we used to give ivermectin, but then we found out that it doesn't work. We used to give azithromycin. It may work, it may not work. Doxycycline was given. It worked, it may not work. So now we are sticking to just masterly inactivity. That means we just sit and watch like a cat. while the patient is there. Patient is put to home isolation for 10 days, and we just ask them to relax, have good food, plenty of water, high protein diet, avoid seeing newspapers or news on TV or social media, relax, meditate, do not get negative things enter your mind, and relax and wait till the thing is over. But by 6 or 7 days, if those things start happening, then you must inform us, and the treating doctor will continuously keep an eye on that. And immediately he'll start something called steroid, which has been in the news for all the wrong reasons, for black fungus, this fungus, that fungus. But please stand very clear, the steroids are not to be taken off the shelf like paracetamol. It has to be taken under the supervision of treating doctor. And most of the mild to moderate cases, steroids we have been giving. But the steroids, again, on the timeline, it has to be only after 5 to 6 days, not in the first day or second day, because that promotes the multiplication of virus. So it is like soup, it has to have a right temperature. It should not be very hot so that it burns your mouth, or it should not be very cold so that it tastes very insipid. So likewise, steroid has to be given right exactly at the time when it gets the maximum benefit, which has to be again decided by us. Then we saw a lot of people running after the oxygen. See, stand very clear in the mind. Oxygen is something which is there in the atmosphere. The reason you are in need of oxygen means your body is not being able to utilize the oxygen which is available in the atmosphere because of the virus. So if I can give you a corollary, probably you may have, 5 or 10 cylinders of cooking gas, but if the burner is jammed up, probably you'll not be able to finish the cooking. Which means if you are really in need of oxygen because of poor oxygen saturation, then possibly you need to see us rather than hanker for oxygen cylinders. That will not get you anywhere, because oxygen, even if you stick the oxygen nozzle inside the nose, it will not save.
I'll interject for a minute, Mishra. There were 2-3 sessions, है ना? तो अब तुम्हारा जो that they have taken and listened, so nice. Should we come down straight to the question answer session?
Okay. Am I on? Am I still on?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So oxygen saturation can be brought up by only treating the reason why the oxygen saturation is low, rather than straightway giving the oxygen. That is an important thing to understand. Anyway, so that said, because of these good treatment procedures, we have been able to control many of the cases, and you'd be very happy to know that the lives saved this time was far more than what we could save last year, because of better treatment protocols, which we could follow all over the world. And it all requires proper cooperation from the patient. The normal process is that the moment you get some kind of body ache, you feel that it is just weather. And people will say, ये मेरा हर साल होता है, ठीक हो जाएगा, थोड़ा बदन दर्द है, थोड़ा खाना वाना खा लेंगे, काढ़ा वाढ़ा पी लेंगे, ठीक है. I have nothing against काढ़ा. But you must come to us, let us ascertain whether it is COVID or not. But people will wait till it is 5th day or 6th day when they'll start having all the breathing problem and everything. Now, most of the people who have all these complications, as I've said, they are obese, they are diabetics, they may have had heart diseases or kidney diseases, which they may not have been very well controlled on. Most of the diabetics we have seen, they are not happy, they are not good, COVID or no COVID. The levels are very bad. The fasting sugar, the PP sugar, 3-month sugar of HbA1c, they are all uncontrolled. And they are the ones which are actually affected badly by these. So these things are there. By 6th day, people will start having breathlessness and all. Then they'll start running around looking for all kinds of help. By then, someone might have given him a steroid, which might push the sugar further up. It might give momentary relief. So it is all, chaotic situation. And that is when
I'll
people
interrupt
start
for a
looking.
minute. Let's come down to question answer.
Yeah, question answer will take in there.
Yeah,
So
sir,
this
there
is-
are some questions on the black
Yeah, yeah.
fungus, white fungus, yellow
Yeah,
fungus.
yeah, I'll come to that. I'll come to that.
Yeah. So
So-
what risk and can it happen to individuals with a history of fungal infection? That was one of the questions.
Yes. Black fungus I was coming to. See, black fungus has been there in the news for the last 10, 15 days. And lots of work has been done. And we have tried to find out the reason why it is affecting more in Indian subcontinent. It's nowhere in the world that so many cases we have seen. Now, black fungus is not black in the color. It is the dead tissue which turns black, which is seen. Now, if someone is really affected by black fungus, they may or may not have a history of steroid intake, diabetes, bad, hygiene with the mask. Then some people will say that it could be because of the oxygen and the water that is used in the humidifier part of oxygenation. Lots of theories have been put forward, but nothing is confirmed. Number one. Number two, those who are having diabetes, which is uncontrolled, they are more than 70%, they're likely to have this fungal infection. And it affects mostly the upper part of nose, and it straightway goes into the brain part. It may affect the sinuses, the hollow part of facial bone. I am sure we have a friend of ENT, he'll explain it further. And it rapidly kills the tissue around, and the dead tissue, it looks like black in color. It has to be actually cut out. The operation is needed, and immediately we have to give IV injection of amphotericin B, and this has to be done only in the hospitalization. So those who are having earlier fungal infection are likely to have black fungus. Probably it is untrue. Any other questions that we can take?
There is one more very interesting question.
Right.
Mass COVID vaccination is an unacceptable mistake. Statement by a Nobel Prize winner, Luc Montagnier. So your views on this?
No, we don't give views on random thoughts like this. We go by the authentic sources. I request all the audience to please look into the government official sites for any information. Ministry of Health has set up a site on this COVID. Twitter already has a handle. Press Information Bureau is giving regularly the information on WHO site, CDC site. They are the sites to go for. Please do not go for random thoughts from any and everyone. It is absolutely baseless, and that is how most of the people, they did not take the vaccines. Now, this time, we have lost so many of the lives because people were in two minds whether to take the vaccine or not.
Correct.
And this was unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. People, they had a lot of misgivings about. I don't want to create controversy from this platform, but people are to blame to some extent for this misinformation campaign. We should have actually been very fast and quick in taking vaccinations. 2 doses of vaccine is accepted all over the world to protect. Now, this vaccine is not going to give you complete immunity, but it reduces the fatality of the case. So you may still catch the virus after 2 doses, but you will not die of it. You will not land up in the ICU. That is the difference. So the choice is very simple. You either take the virus and risk your life, or you take the vaccine and stay comfortable.
And
are there any other add more questions to doctor?
Yeah.
Sharad Raj wants to ask something.
Pardon me? Can you come again?
Sharad Raj.
Yes.
Another 90 minutes for the questions.
Yes. Sharad Raj. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, I just want to ask, we are seeing a general scarcity of medicines, which started with remdesivir, maybe not so substantial. It was recovered greatly by the government. Then it started with tocilizumab. Now we have come to a stage where there is an extreme scarcity because of historical and the production reasons of black fungus medicine.
Okay, Sharad.
What
Let
is
me
the-
tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. I repeatedly told you that most of the medicines that we have been giving since last year have been mostly experimental and anecdotal. So now we know that remdesivir and antiviral medicines have absolutely no role. I repeat, absolutely no role in treating this virus. Number one. So we should not actually, if at all, it has to be given in first few days, say 6 to 7 days where it works. After that, there is no role of any antiviral medications, including remdesivir. Tocilizumab and other things are there available in plenty, but who requires it? Those with high D dimer. And they can be treated with alternative medicines. There are plenty of them available and they are regularly available. So there's no scarcity of medicines. Scarcity of oxygen was there because of unusually high number of cases. It reached at one point of time almost 4 lakh per day, and at that time any system will crash. So you cannot blame you, him, her, or anyone. And availability has been there. Most of the hospitals have been treating all of them without using them, and those hospitals which use remdesivir and other medicines, they also cured the patients. But then people will never know whether it worked or any other thing worked or the proper immunity of the patient worked. They're multifactorial. So you will never know what worked and what did not work. The
Sir,
end
just
outcome
one-
was that the
just-
patient.
Any other?
Yes.
one question
It
over
has been
this.
answered.
Just one question over this. So,
Yeah.
what is the state of black fungus medication? What are the alternatives available, and how can people access them?
Black fungus is still mostly in the social media. We have not seen it so rampantly as we saw the virus in the hospitals or in our practice, number one. Number two, you reach to the level of getting black fungus because of your own uncontrolled diabetes and a reckless use of steroids off the shelf. And I mean it because I've seen a lot of patients taking steroids and other medications all by themselves without following anyone's advice. So black fungus is man-made rather than the virus created, number one. Number two, amphotericin B is available in plenty, but then it is human nature to hoard medications. I know plenty of people who hoarded right from ivermectin to vitamin C to sanitizers to remdesivir to oxygen cylinders. So this is human nature. Insecurity breeds all kind of hoarding practices. But rest assured, if the patient really has any black fungus and he or she is in the need of any amphotericin B or any such medication, then probably he is to be very careful not to go to that extent. Prior to that, he should be able to understand if there is stuffiness in the nose, if there is swelling around the eyes, if there is headache, if there is tingling around the face, there are rashes. That is the time when you should rush to the doctor, especially after few days of getting COVID infection. That is the best way and the message I want to get. You must find it out, any of these symptoms. As I said, I can repeat it again: swelling around the eye, the tingling around the face, stuffiness is the nose. Stuffy nose is very important sign. And then it could be rashes, high fever, change in the voice, seeing the vision disturbances, headache, vomiting, diarrhea. So all these could be the signs of black fungus, as we call it. And the dots that we see in the pictures, that is a very late presentation. Those who have ignored all this, they come to us with that, and they are in need of real medications. But medications are available in plenty. My point is, again, don't go to that extent so that you require all that. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Arun Kumar sir has some questions. You raised your hand.
Yeah.
Please go ahead
Yeah.
with the question.
Not a really question, but really wanted to understand, sir.
Yeah.
There is a recent report that zinc is responsible for aggravating fungal infection.
Yeah. Yeah. I also read it today. Yeah. In our circles, we got this news. I think yesterday we read it. And it could be possible that zinc is required for growth of this fungus. So this might have led to it. But see, we are all scientific minded people, unless we have proper, documentation of these things, and we can relate the cause to the effect, and it can be reproducible. We cannot with surety, we cannot say that, okay, zinc has caused this or this has caused it. So someone said that, okay, it is mask which already has. Most of the fungus is already there in the atmosphere. It is there in the bed, in the, in the curtain, in the everywhere. But our immune status is good, then it keeps fighting it. If the immune status is not good, then we fall prey to it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think there are many more questions. So first, let us
Please.
start with the other doctor session. Dr. Shadi
Yeah,
Mitra, I would
Sure,
request Rahul Maheshwari sir to take it up, take the session forward. And Mr. Rahul Maheshwari, he's a BPharm graduate, 83, 87 batch, and 87, 89 MBA, an entrepreneur, one of the backbone of our this COVID activity, a go-to man guy. So with this, I request Rahul sir to take it forward and introduce Dr. Shadi Mitra. Over to you, sir. Rahul sir is on mute, so let's.
Hi, thanks, Dr. Mishra. We have Dr. Shari Mitra. Hi, Dr. Shari. She belongs to the MBBS batch of 2012. And she did her MBBS from NHL Municipal College, Ahmedabad. And after a resplendent 4.5 years, 4.5 years, she decided to focus her talents on the surgical front. And that's how she ended up at the ENT resident in GMC Surat. She had been a forefront warrior with COVID-19 since last year. And this year, after some time, this black fungus thing has come, and this is her related subject, ENT. So she finds herself in this forefront again, performing various surgeries. So we have certain questions which I will put forward right now, so that we do not have to stop her in between. Number one is why the sudden surge of black fungus, though COVID was there since March 2020 when we had first lockdown, and we were using steroids that time also for the treatment. Number two, which is fatal now? We have confusion whether it is a black fungus or a white fungus, and now we have heard of yellow fungus. Number three, can person with comorbidities like diabetes, hypertension, and no history of COVID-19 disease previously, maybe he has been vaccinated or she has been vaccinated, can acquire black fungus or various fungus? What are the percentage chances of acquiring such disease? Maybe number four, what types of patient and how you and your team are handling presently in your ward, because you are directly working with the patients, all economic category, people who do not have money and people who have lots of money in your ward related to black fungus. And finally, what can normal individual do to avoid this fungus thing which has come abruptly into the market? So to you, Dr. Shari, and we are very proud that Dr. Shari is our daughter, and she belongs to our alumni, Mr. Subir Mitra, who is working with NDDB Anand, and he is a 1990, 81 and 85 batch electrical engineering. So she is our own daughter. So let us listen to her. Thanks very much.
Good evening, everyone. So as we know that we are dealing with another pandemic in progress. So one was COVID, the next one is being called the black fungus, or better known as the mucormycosis. So these are just the names given, like black fungus, white fungus, yellow fungus. It's kind of confusing, but right now we'll focus on what black fungus or mucormycosis is. So mucormycosis is actually caused by a fungus named Rhizopus or mucor. And yes, it can occur in any individual who has a compromised immune system. More commonly in patients who have uncontrolled diabetes or who have immune compromise due to taking chemotherapy drugs or people who have AIDS. But currently we are seeing so many patients who had COVID, and after COVID they are developing mucormycosis. So at present we don't know for sure whether COVID per se has anything to do with the disease. Like, is COVID directly related to the onset of mucormycosis, or is it something to do with the treatment of COVID? There are many hypotheses. One of them is the rampant use of steroids. So steroid is kind of the backbone of the treatment for COVID. So, but people have been using it uncontrollably. Like, people have been taking over-the-counter steroid medications even when it was not needed. So that might be one of the reasons why the steroid has itself increased the blood sugar level and has made people more prone to catching this fungal infection. Or it has been said there is another theory about the usage of zinc. So zinc was also one of the more commonly given medication for COVID, and turns out it is also a growth medium for mucormycosis. So another hypothesis is using the common oxygen pipelines or the common humidifiers and unhygienic or unsanitary conditions, which have led to growth of this fungus or spread of this fungus. So all these are hypotheses. None of them has been proven yet. So it can, like, mucormycosis is not just due to COVID, it can occur to anybody. But the good thing is it is not contagious. So the normal public should not panic at all that you will catch mucormycosis as you can catch COVID. It will not happen like that. So if you are a patient who has diabetes, or if you have something that, like if your immune system is compromised somehow, so the only way to protect yourself from this fungus is very easy. Just have to, maintain your normal health and maintain a good sanitary conditions. Like, wear a clean mask every time. Do not reuse your mask again and again. So these are the few things which you can do to prevent this fungus. And it is like, people should not panic at all that they will catch this fungus just as they can catch COVID. So that is one of the questions you have asked. The other question is, what are the, like, even though there was a surge of COVID last year, in 2020, we had a lot of COVID cases, and there were not, like, people think the mucormycosis cases were not there last year, but that's not actually true. We did have mucormycosis cases last year as well. But as we know, the peak that has happened this time is much, much greater than what it was the last year. So this time we have experienced a very sudden rise in COVID cases, and maybe that is the reason that the number of mucormycosis cases have also increased in proportion to that of the COVID cases. So even in our hospital, we had mucormycosis cases last year also, but they were like very less as compared to this year. So that's another question that has been asked. And so to identify what are the warning signs for mucormycosis, so it's a disease. Usually after COVID, many patients, you should go for a CT scan or a MRI if you get any of the symptoms such as a blocked nose or bleeding from your nose, or if you see a black scar on your palate, or if there is loosening of tooth. Also, there can be bulging of eyelids, bulging of your eyeball, and loss of vision or decreased vision, or a unilateral headache. So these are the few warning signs. And if you have these after you have recovered from COVID, then we can suspect mucormycosis, and it's better to be safe than sorry. So if you get any of these warning signs, you should visit a doctor as soon as possible and get a CT scan or an MRI done to confirm. Also, the disease, if we identify it in the early stages, it is completely curable. But the disease can affect the nose. So it starts with the nose and it can affect the eyeball, the palate, the jaw, and it can affect the brains, it can affect the lungs. So it's kind of a slow progressive disease. But if you identify it earlier, then we can start an antifungal treatment. And if the disease has progressed further, we need to actually remove all the infected tissue from the body and then continue with the antifungal treatment. So the people who have been affected, so this time we are seeing I am working in Government Medical College and New Civil Hospital, Surat. So Gujarat has declared mucormycosis as a epidemic as of now. So we are seeing a surge of cases this time, like we have more than 150 patients in our hospital who are mucormycosis, and every day we are operating on more than 10 patients. And it is kind of the same for all the hospitals in Gujarat. Like we have in Ahmedabad, in Bhavnagar, everywhere there are a lot of cases of mucormycosis, and it has got something to do with the COVID disease. And for treatment, we are dependent on the government supply of amphotericin. So it is the treatment of choice is the injection called the injection amphotericin B. So the amphotericin B comes in 2 or 3 varieties. One is the liposomal one, another is amphotericin B deoxycholate. To access or to get these medicines, you either have to be admitted in a government hospital, and to buy it over the counter, it is proving very difficult right now. We are not getting enough supply of amphotericin B even in the hospital. So we are hoping that government will increase the production and supply of the medicine. And that is the backbone of the treatment, this injection. Also, we have oral tablets for this called tablet isavuconazole or tablet posaconazole. These are also oral antifungal drugs which can be taken for this disease. And if the disease has progressed quite further and it has affected one of the organs, then we need to remove the infected part. So it is called debridement, that is complete removal of that part. So if the nose is affected, the infected tissue is removed. Sometimes in extensive diseases, the part of the jaw or teeth, and in very sad and in very unfortunate cases, even the eyeball has to be removed. So, but all of these are life-saving surgeries because this fungus is very aggressive. It is almost like a cancer. It spreads rapidly in your body. It can get into the bloodstream and can infect your brain and lungs. So the earlier you detect it and remove it, it is a life-saving procedure. And if anybody is undergoing this, they should not worry too much about losing an eyeball. It is more, you should see it as saving your life. And any of these things can be reconstructed. We have very good plastic surgery techniques and reconstructive surgeries these days. So loss of an organ is obviously a very traumatic thing for an individual, especially if that individual has already defeated COVID and then is going through this disease again. But all of that can be done, and the general population should not be too worried about catching it, because it is not like COVID that you can just catch it from the air. The fungal spores are obviously present in the air at all times, and they have been there since earlier. It has got nothing to do with like, it's not as if now we are getting, the fungal spores are not increased now. They are the same as they were previously. So people should just maintain the proper hygiene and sanitation, and just make sure that if you get any of these warning signs, then you should consult a doctor as soon as possible.
Okay, ma'am. There are a few more questions.
Yes.
Like for pregnant ladies, what on full-term pregnancy, what is the impact if the vaccine can be taken, and if there is a COVID situation, then what can happen to the newborn?
Actually, I'm not entirely sure whether vaccination can be taken by a full-term pregnant lady or not.
But risk for the newborn babies on the for the COVID.
She is more on a ENT side. So we have to ask questions on the ENT side because the specialization is ENT. So anything related to the ear, nose, throat or COVID symptoms, maybe we ask the questions.
Okay. Anyway, there are some questions on the vaccination side.
You can ask them. Dr. Mishra also can answer.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dr. Mishra, yeah, please.
The vaccination has not been advocated for pregnant women, so it's not yet.
Okay.
So any of the doctors can answer the question. Let's ask
Yeah,
the question.
it's
to the-
open
yeah.
question, so anyone
Yes,
can
please.
answer.
Yes. Please, any other questions?
Yeah, there are some more questions like Covishield has been told to be taken in the span of 3 to 4 months, but Covaxin, that duration remains the same. So can we follow the same principle for Covaxin by expanding the span while taking the second dose?
No. Go by what has been advised to you. Go by what has been advised and decided by the system, and do not try to put, like someone will say that, okay, can I mix one with the other? So you cannot do that. This has been decided. The gap has been decided by scientific studies. Earlier, I took 2 doses 28 days apart. That was on 23rd of January and 23rd of February. But 3 months down the line, we knew that this doesn't work so well. So the gap was increased. So it is a continuously churning and evolving process. So what decided the gap, we must stick to that. We do not try to put our head into that. Yes, Vishal has something to ask.
Yeah, Vishal. I think he's on mute.
Yes, sir. I have a question. Can a lactating woman with postpartum myopathy, can she take the Covishield vaccine?
After delivery, they can.
Yes, sir.
After delivery, there is no issue. It is only during the pregnancy that we do not give any kind of vaccination other than tetanus and some other, which is specified by the system. Otherwise,
Postpartum myopathy. I'm not sure exactly what that is.
Postpartum myopathy is a rare condition. Postpartum, I mean, after delivery, some women, they have some muscle issues, but I think that's quite rare. It's not very common. But in any case, such people, myopathy or no myopathy, they can take the vaccine. That's not an issue.
There is a question from a BIT Patna professor.
Yeah.
Like a bone marrow transplant patient can take
Yeah,
vaccine.
I answered him personally. I was seeing the chat box. Yes, he should. He can take it. He should.
Okay, thanks.
No
Sir.
issues with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think Sunil sir had raised the hand earlier. So Sunil sir, you can, if you have any question, please go ahead. Sunil sir. Okay. By that time, maybe Prince, you have some questions. You can go ahead with your. Prince.
I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Prince, go ahead.
I'm.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Can somebody else go on my behalf?
Yeah,
Can
you
somebody?
are unmuted. I don't know.
Can somebody? He spoke something like, can somebody? Hey, can you Prince write it down in the chat box? Probably your audio is not working well.
Yeah, Prince, now you are unmuted again. So you can speak.
Yes, sir. There is some internet issue. I will probably write
So you
down
can
the question.
write your question.
Please,
not
next one.
Yeah, please go ahead. Write it down. I'll see.
Rajesh Palaria,
Hi, Doctor. Thanks for your session. So, Doctor,
Yes.
this question is regarding, I think, if any new parents are probably planning on conceiving, right? So, probably any precautions or anything they should probably think before getting vaccinated? Anything you recommend?
Vaccination is a good thing. I mean, if someone has not conceived yet, probably they can go for the vaccination and wait for 3 to 6 months. And there's no hurry. I mean, they can always wait for 3 to 6 months. See, vaccine first dose gives you 60% immunity. Second dose gives you about 73% immunity. And the rest 27% is just a very mild form of illness that one gets, non-life threatening. That is the whole concept about vaccination.
Sure. Thank you,
So
Doctor.
if anyone takes the vaccine, you can wait 2 to 3 months.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Doctor.
Yeah, Monica Garg.
Good
have
evening,
some-
Doctor. I
Yes,
just
please.
wanted to ask if somebody's lung is infected during the COVID time,
Yes.
so will it impact later on also? Like, what will be the implications?
You have raised a very good question. I thought someone will ask. Thank you for raising this question. Actually, the lungs are very badly affected. That we know, and it has been classified as per severity score. So out of 25, probably get 10, 9, 20, 15, 17 like that. But fortunately, after a few weeks to few months, the lungs, they recover completely. There is no scar left and everything goes back to normal. So this is a very good and probably kind thing done by the virus. So it does kill all the basic part of lungs, but they come back with good treatment and physiotherapy. Now, physiotherapy, number one and most important is lying prone, awake proning. That is lying face down and taking deep breaths all the day. And even if because it's very uncomfortable to lie on your face all the day. So what you need to do is maybe half an hour on the left side, half an hour on the right side, half an hour probably sitting, half an hour face down. And while you're on the face down, one pillow here, another pillow on the thighs, so that the tummy, it dangles in the air, so that it has place for expanding and contracting. So that is how the awake proning is done. But by and large, good physical breathing exercises, they bring back the lungs to normal. Earlier, we thought of giving some anti-fibrotic drugs, as we call them, Pirfenidone, but this was found to be not so useful and not needed altogether, because people who did not take any such medications, they also recovered equally well. So now we know that there is no need to give any medications to stop the contraction of the lungs. They all recover pretty well. Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, Sunil Jain sir, you have a question?
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Mishra.
Oh, nice. Please.
Because of these steroids,
Yes.
even people who do not have diabetics have shown high diabetic levels.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So do you think, will that diabetic remain a permanent feature, or
No.
it will come back to normal?
No. Fortunately, no. See, steroids are given for a very short period of time. It is like, shock and awe to the inflammatory wave that comes up, that we name as cytokine storm. It is apparent only after a week, and it has to be actually knocked off with the help of steroids. And it is normally given for 5 to 10 days. In some cases, it may be taken for another week, but at best, we give them for a week to 10 days. And during this period, surely the sugar rises up. Then honestly speaking, most of the patients who are first-time diabetic, COVID or no COVID, we have seen in practice that those patients who have high blood sugar, they do not straightway come to us for taking treatment for diabetes. They spend at least 3 years trying all kinds of alternative medications, doing this, that, sajan ka chhala, then going for some kind of churan chutney, talking to his family members, others, getting scared about taking a medication all the life. So 3 to 4 years, they always spend before coming to us for regular medications. So 5 or 10 days of high sugar will not kill anyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think there is one more question on micromucosis. So let me read out the questions for you.
Yeah.
Is there any time period post-COVID recovery for mucormycosis to show its symptoms? I mean, if there is any patient who does not face any problem post-COVID recovery till 3 to 4 weeks, then still there is a chance of that disease. He or she is out of danger.
Very unlikely, very unlikely. It is only during the active part of disease during which we are exposed to variety of things, especially in hospital setting. There could be an exposure to spores of mucormycosis, but it is very unlikely that someone who has recovered completely may get this kind of a thing 3 to 4 weeks after. It's very unlikely. And as I've said, again, I want to underline that if there is nasal stuffiness, blocked noses, swelling around the eyelids or eyes, any headache, seeing too, double vision, any tingling on the face, change in the voice. So these are the signs to look for. They are red flags. And if someone has anything of that sort, they must actually report to us. That is the time when we can intervene and give very good treatment.
So there is one more question.
Right.
Was detected COVID positive on April 9th, 2021, and still the report is coming positive in the RT-PCR test with gene CT value of 29. What can be the reason for it, and what is
these are very stray incidents. We have seen some of these, but then in all fairness, we must say that the person is not infective to others. Still, the COVID appropriate behavior, it has to continue whether you have had virus, whether you have had vaccination, whether you are young, whether you are old. The mask, the social distancing, and the sanitizers are here to stay. Please stand very clear in the mind, whether you are vaccinated or not, whether you have had any virus, whether you have recovered, you have had any complications. But after the complete recovery, after everything is over, you still have to stick to the mask and social distancing and sanitizers. SMS, as we call it.
Okay, there is a question from Piyush Patil.
Yes, sir. This question is for Dr. Shari. Role of steam in black fungus, is it causing black fungus? Second is, if I'm taking some multivitamin on daily basis and if it contains zinc, so should I be alarmed? Thanks.
As I've told previously that the exact reason why mucormycosis is affecting COVID patients is still a mystery to us. We are still searching for solutions. What is the exact reason? So yes, zinc has been in one of the hypotheses. It has been said that zinc can be a growth medium for mucormycosis. So maybe you can stop the zinc till it is proven wrong. So better be, because it's not an essential thing. You can always take multivitamins which do not contain zinc. And also steam inhalation, it has got nothing to do with the like to improve or to cause mucormycosis. Steam inhalation is not going to cause mucormycosis.
Okay. Sneha Singh has a question. I'm asking her to unmute. Chandra, can you unmute her? I'm not able to do it from here.
Yeah, I can see it. She's asking about long COVID. Long COVID is, yeah, please. I just read it. You are talking about long COVID. Long COVID is something which, again, it drags further with the complications. So some people may have, again, recurrence of fever and body ache and cough. Now, these are the cases which can drag further. Some people may have cardiac complications, palpitations, some myocarditis. They are serious ones. So long COVID is something we are actually very not comfortable with. And that is why we always tell our patients to come back to us, or at least remain in our touch and self-report for the symptoms. We give a list of symptoms to the patients after recovery and ask them to be very vigilant about them, and then come back to us the moment they find any of those symptoms related to heart or any other thing, or lungs, or any other issues. So we give a complete list of those symptoms and we tell them that you need to look for them. And as I've said, maintain all kinds of COVID appropriate behavior. That is long COVID.
So, sir, can we tell her somehow to contact on video conferencing to you or some?
Yes, please. No issues. They can always come back. Yeah.
Okay. And one more question, doctor. Just
Please.
you said that the time period is very important.
Yes.
So suppose someone got symptom today. So
Yes.
what is the first thing we should do?
See, we count the days from onset, not from the date of test, number one. Not the date of test, not the date of reports coming. So suppose the virus enters the body, 2 to 3 days it takes before it appears on the test. And then after that, the illness starts 5 to 6 days. After that, recovery starts, and by 10th day, it's all over. Now, the timeline is so important that all the complications, they start only after 6 to 7 days. Before that, normally no complications start. That is why all the steroids and other medications we keep ready for those complications. So people who waste their time during these important days, they are the ones who require hospitalization or they face severe complications. If you want to remain out of all this, please remain under our observation and care till the whole story is over. That is a very important part, because this is a disease where time is essence. Time is very important. The golden period, if lost, then we really don't have much to offer.
But doctor, if today, you know that not everyone is getting the hospital and everything. So my question coming from that, if I am getting infected, so suppose I have a test, then in first 3 to 6 days, should I be taking some medicine which are prescribed, just like you told, zinc?
I told you in the beginning, the medicines are very limited. You should take paracetamol and some vitamins and some anti-allergics, and remain vigilant for development of symptoms, and remain constantly in touch of your treating doctor. This is very important. Stay home, stay isolated from others, stay home and take good food, lot of water and protein, and just wait for the thing to over. If it is not so well, if it is not getting over completely, if you're getting complications, then please report to us and we'll look after what to do next. All the blood tests, X-ray tests, CT scan, all those medications, IV drip, oxygenation, this is all left to us. Nobody should try to do all this by themselves. No self-testing, not going for COVID packages, not going for CT scan, not going for repeat CT scans. These are all mistakes actually. So one should not try to self-treat themselves. That is my request.
Okay, Dr. Mishra and Dr. Rashi.
Shari, sir.
Sorry.
Shari.
Rahul,
Yeah.
hello. So I'm part of the whole team, and I ensure that they get a BITN souvenir. Maybe let the COVID be over. And I take this opportunity to all of you to join this. And Dr. Mishra is like one of the close friends, PAR group, and you have brought that family of BITN, Dr. Shari as the ENT specialist, that young girl. So nice of you. And we conclude here. And Neha, my request is, Neha, are you listening?
Yeah, Neha.
Oh yeah, Haldar. It's okay.
Yeah.
What I want to say that this should be presented. This question answers were very, very critical and very, very nicely and cogently answered with clear clarity and conspicuousness. So I would submit that. Haldar, kindly put it into our website.
Yeah, certainly. In fact, thank you, Dr. Mishra and Dr. Shari Mitra. The question answers were really very nicely handled, and you tried your best to give the last point answer, which will help the different people, even some of the patients who suffered COVID. And truly appreciate, doctors, your time, your experience sharing, and your suggestions. I also thank you, Pradeep sir, Rahul Maheshwari sir, and the entire Bitosa Global team, and of course all the attendees for taking their time out, attending this webinar. I'm sure this is going to help them in a big way. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all. And this is Gautam Haldar from Bitosa, Pune. We wish you a safe stay and good night. Thank you all.
Dr. Mishra and Dr. Shari, thank you very much for your time. You have been a team for us, and hopefully our all participants and others who have not participated in this webinar approach you over chat or mail. I know you all are very busy, and this COVID has made you more busy.
Pleasure.
But you are doing a
Thank you.
fantastic job and saving lives, sir. So we wish you that you stay healthy. So we stay healthy.
That's right.
And
That's
grand
So far,
salute
so
to
good.
all the doctors of our country, and really we appreciate. You are the God for us now.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
of course. Thanks very much. Good night. Have a
Good
nice,
night.
safe
right.
stay. Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Mishra. Thanks,
Thank you.
Dr. Shari. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Pleasure.
night.